Hi, good morning. I'm going to explain about Advanced Database Final project. Our project title is Transforming Natural Language into SQL Query using Natural Language Processing. We have implemented three methods for this project. First one, Natural Language Interface to Database. Second one, Natural Language Keyword Based Interface to Database. And the third one, Keyword Based Search. So for the first method, this is the architecture for the natural language interface to database. Here, user will enter the English language statement in GUI. Once we start the translation of the sentence, firstly, Stanford dependency parser will convert the English language into parse tree. Once the parse tree is generated, mapping will be initiated. So in Node Mapper, to facilitate user choice for each node, we would like to choose a mapping as the default mapping, which the user can simply accept in many cases. If there is any ambiguity arises, like name can be student name in student table and name can be professor name in professor table, in this case user will communicate through interface with interactive communicator and complete the mapping accordingly. Here we use semantic similarity between all the nodes in the parse tree and database attributes and their values. So highest similarity will be shown on the top. Now in schema graph, we connect with the database and store the database table names, column names and attributes, primary key and foreign key relations. So node mapper and parse tree structure adjuster connected with the schema graph. Hence, we can retrieve the details from the schema graph. Once the mapping is successfully finished, it will remove the unknown or meaningless nodes like the of kind of nodes will be removed. Hence, the tree contain only valid nodes. So, with the valid nodes, more number of query trees will be reformulated, among which top 3 query trees options will be sent to the user through interactive communicator. Once the user select any of the tree through interactive communicator, then it will be translated into SQL query in the query tree translator. And once we get the tree, that will be sent to the RDBMS, that will be return the results to the user interface again. So this is the first method. And for the second method, instead of giving natural language, so we give only keywords in the user interface and the operations will be performed on keywords will be same as this architecture. Let's do the execution now. For the first method, natural language interface to database, once we click the execution, we'll get the graphical user interface. Now the parser is initialized. Once the controller is initialized, we'll get the main window where we'll type the query. Let's try for a simple query. Return name and degree of student. Once we click on translate button, the dependency parser will be convert this natural language into a parse tree. Now we got the parse tree. This return name and degree of student converted into return name and degree student of. This is the parse tree structure. So here for all of the nodes we have to do mapping now. So in this node mapping, for each node it will connect with the database and get the semantic similarity, and this whatever the semantic similarity is high, that will be come on the top. Here this student name is mapping to the professor name. As I said, this kind of ambiguity, name can be student name and name can be a professor name. So here we have to select it to student name, that is came on the top as well. So this student.s name will be the student name that we are referring here, and we have to confirm the choice. Once we are done, and for the degree it's a student degree, so we have to confirm with that as well. As it's a name node, so we have to select student.sdegree as name node. We confirm that as well. Now as we selected student dot name and student dot degree, so there is no need to select for the student, and this off is a meaningless node, so this we are selecting as a unknown or meaningless. So once we confirm this, this will be translated into uh, different different types of trees, wherein we'll get the top 3 trees. So we can select anyone among them and confirm the. Once we click on this confirm tree, that will be converted into SQL query and return the results. Once we confirm, sometimes it might take some 15 seconds to 30 seconds, and it's a basic query, it doesn't take much time. It's select student.sdegree, student.sname from student. So here are the query results, and let's do it for the second query. We'll go into the little complex now. We'll do some aggregation operation. So let's start the execution again. Once the controller is initialized, we'll get the main window wherein we can type the query name. Give me name, degree, and highest salary of professor. So now in the professor table we have some few columns, out of which I selected name, degree, and highest salary of professor. So it will retrieve highest salary of professor details. So once we click on translate, the same process will be followed. So again we have to select in the node mapping, we have to select all of them. Now me is a meaningless node, and for the salary it's a professor dot salary. I got it automatically because it compared with the database with the semantic similarity. So I can select the professor dot salary here, and I can select professor dot name as well. And degree I got meaningless, but it's a professor degree, it's a P degree in the database, so I can select professor dot P degree. So I'm mapping this degree to the professor degree. Once I confirm this, as I selected professor dot salary, professor dot name, professor dot degree, so I don't need to select for this, so I'm just confirming as a meaningless. And off is a key, off is a word which doesn't make any sense to the user, so I'm selecting as meaningless. Once the mapping is finished, I mapped all the nodes. Now I got the 3 different types of trees, out of which I'm selecting one and confirming. Once I click on confirm tree, the query will be generated, SQL query will be generated, and it will return the results to the main window. Now I got the details here. Select max of professor.salary, professor.pdegree, professor.pname from professor. So here are the query results. Let's do one more aggregation operator. It, let's start the execution again for another aggregation operator. Now the parser is initialized and controller is initialized. Now I can give the let's try return average salary of professor. So in the professor table we have few number of rows, out of which for all the salaries it will return the average salary of the professor. I click translate button, it will take me to the mapping area, so where I have to select the salary. It's automatically popped up because it's a professor salary I'm referring to. And professor dot salary as I selected, so I don't need to select this as well. And off is a meaningless node, so I'm not selecting any. Now if I select any of the tree, that will return the SQL query and it will return the results as well. So now I got select average of professor dot salary from professor. So here are the query results. So now let's do the one more comparison operator. So similarly, for comparison operator will takes place. So I'm gonna give SQL statement here. Fetch one lakh 25,000 is a value node in the database. So I'm selecting this as a value node. Yeah, here I got the query, select professor dot salary comma professor name from the professor where salary is greater than 1,25,000. Now let's do the little bit of advanced join operation. For the join operation, I got the query and the result. So only Dr. Sridhar is teaching compilers in this case, in this database, so it returned. So now I'm done with my first method. So I'm gonna do it for second method now. So the second method is natural language keyword based search into the database. Instead of giving natural language, so I'm gonna give keywords. Let's try print. Here are the results for the keywords. Let's do one more. So I'm only giving keywords instead of giving English statement. It's a value node in the database, 1,60,000. So I got the results for this query. Here is we completed second method